Okay, welcome to the data entry lab. Let's go ahead and get started. We are going to need this data entry document that can be found on Canvas in the lab assignment. And then you will need your data that you have been collecting over the last week. So your official data, not your pilot test or your pre-test data. And so you're going to get that official data from Google Forms. And then you're going to export it as a .csv, and it should look something like this. I am using the PowerPuff's pilot and pretest data, but again, you should be using your actual data and not your pilot test or pretest data. And then you're also going to need your key. So you submitted the key to the methods assignment, which is a group assignment, so it looked like this, not the methods rough draft. And hopefully if that's the most recent version of your key, then you'll use that one. But hopefully after you made any pilot test or pre-test feedback edits, that you updated your key. So you need the most recent version of your survey key, as well as your official data that you would get from Google Forms, and then this document. So what it says is that today's task is to code your data in Excel. So what that means is that any of the data in Excel that is in words needs to be coded into numbers for the most part. And then what we'll do after we code the data in Excel is take that Excel file and import it to SPSS so that we can run our statistics and our statistical analyses. So the first thing that this worksheet says to do is to add demographic items with codes to your survey key. So you'll need codes for all demographic items since SPSS only understands numbers. So you will be using a key to help you remember what your numeric codes mean. The numbers you use as codes are completely arbitrary. For example, for the levels of gender, the standard code is 1 for male and 2 for female, but you could make male 0 and female 1, or you can make female 0 and male 1, or you can make males 99 and females 52. It really does not matter. The numbers are completely arbitrary. They're just codes. But since age, for example, is measured on a ratio scale of measurement, meaning generally when you ask participants what their age is, they just tell you 38, and then they plug that number into the survey, or they verbally say the number. So because it's already in numerical form, we don't need to code it. But anyway, so what you're going to do is open up your key, and then I'm going to open up the PowerPuff data so I could see what their demographic items were as well. And it looks like they asked for gender. So I would go to my key, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to add a section titled Demographics, and I am going to start with gender. So I'm going to do female equals 0 and males equal 1, and then I will get the next demographic from their data, which looks like it is sexual orientation. So I'm going to put, I probably should have labeled this maybe a little different. I'll do gender, and then I will do, change this up just because I have OCD and I don't like the way this is looking. All right, let's put this in the middle. There we go. Okay, so demographics, gender, and then we're going to do sexual orientation. Underline that. Take the underline off. Oops, I have to take it off again. Okay, and then I'm going to do straight. Oh, no, it's still there. Straight, gay, lesbian, oh my gosh, I should have just done this at the end. Okay, straight, gay, lesbian. What were the other options they had on their data? So straight, bisexual, lesbian, that's all they had, but they probably also had a self-described. Okay, so we'll put that there too. Okay, so you could start over with your code. So you could label straight 0, gay 1. You could do it that way. I get confused if I use the same codes for different demographics, so I just change them completely for each option. But like I said, they're just codes. They're arbitrary. It doesn't matter. They just need a code. Okay, and then I'm going to look for the next demographic. Let's see, age. And so here it looks like instead of having the participants directly input their age, they gave the participants options of categories, which is a good way to do it too, in case people are sensitive about their age. Categories makes it a little less specific. So if you did categories for age, that's fine. You'll just need to code each category, whereas if you just collected age as a straight number, instead of doing it in categories or ranges, then you don't need to code the ages at all. But since they're in categories here, we'll have to code them. And it looks like they have 19 to 21. I'm just going to maybe copy and paste these into my key. So here is age. Come back with that underline. That got me in trouble last time. Okay. And then 22 to 25. Okay, 22 to 25, and then do they have a 26 to 30? Oh, here it is. Okay, 26 to 30. And then, let's see, 31 to 35. Let's see it. 36 to 40, and then it looks like they did 41 and up. Okay, so then I would just code these. Let me underline that. Getting smarter here. Okay, so self-described was 7. Just gonna, or self-described was 6, so I'm just gonna come in at 7. But again, it doesn't matter. I could start at 10. Makes no difference. Okay. And then let's see. They have ethnicity as their final demographic, so I will do that down here. All right, so the ethnicity options are self-described, Black, African American, white, Caucasian, Hispanic or Latin American. Did I do that? Oh, I skipped it. Hispanic or Latin American. Okay. And I'm pretty sure they had Asian on there as well. Okay, I'm not sure what all their options were, but let's just say it was just those. So I'm going to code those as well. All right. So then I have created codes for all of my demographics. Okay, so now we are on 2, which says code data. And A says, in order to code your data, download your data as a .csv file to the desktop, open it in Excel, then follow the steps below. So make sure if you haven't already done so, you'll need your data from Google Forms downloaded as a .csv file. And so then what you're going to do is remove any unnecessary columns such as timestamp. So I'm going to open up their data here, and actually I'm going to hide this over here. Okay, and so I can just click on this whole column and delete it. Okay, and then I'm going to delete the informed consent because I don't need it for analyzing my data. And then, all right, it looks like I have a bunch of missing cases up here at the top, but I'm going to leave them there for now. Okay, so I have removed the timestamp, and so I'll go back to my worksheet, and it says, make the name of each demographic item a single word. This should be the same word used on your key. For example, what is your age should be changed to age. Your word should not include any spaces or special characters. In other words, like parentheses, quotation marks, dashes, any type of punctuation mark SPSS doesn't like. So we'll go back to our demographics over here at the top, and I'm going to change this. I'm going to take out all that, including the number 1, and just put gender. And then the demographic for sexual orientation, I'm going to remove all of that and just put sexual orientation. And then for age, put age, and ethnicity, we'll put ethnicity. Okay, so we have done that. And oh, a single word. That's the thing. I think sexual orientation we'll want to just combine as one word without a space, because sometimes SPSS gives us a hard time even if there's spaces. All right, so then it says code all demographic data using the codes on your key. Consider using the find and replace feature in Excel. For example, find male and replace with 1, or whatever your code for that is. Okay, so to do that, you could go to Edit, Find, and then I go to Replace. And I'm going to tell it to find female, and you have to write it exactly as the data was collected. So for example, you have to capitalize the F and then keep the rest of the letters lowercase. You couldn't do like all caps. And then you're going to replace that with the code on your survey key. So I believe the code for, sorry about that, I believe the code for female was 0. So I'm going to put 0 here. So find what female, replace with 0. And then I'm going to click replace all, and I'm going to watch the female over here change to 0. There we go. So it tells me it made 11 replacements. And then the next thing I'm going to tell it to do is find male and replace with what it says on my key, which is 1. And I'm going to click replace all and watch the males switch. Very good. Okay. Okay, see, I have a little bit of an issue, I think. Yes, I did not have a code for non-binary. They probably also had self-described on their as their options in their demographics, but didn't have that information, so I just used what was on their data. But anyways, so let's say non-binary. I'm just gonna label it 99 because I don't know where I left off. I could have done 18, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna go to non-binary, and since there's only one, I'll just type in 99. Okay. The next thing that I am going to do is code sexual orientation. And so it looks like I need to code straight as 2. So I'm going to save this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go to edit, find, replace, and I'm going to replace straight with, I said 2, replace all, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to replace, looks like no one chose gay, there is lesbian, so I'm going to replace lesbian with, the key says 4, replace all, just the 1, okay, and then bisexual is 5. Okay, it looks like the way it was written here is bi and then a dash and the word sexual, and that is code 5. And then I'm going to replace all. Okay. Let's see, now I have age. So I'm going to do, since, well, I'll just try to, sometimes it's better to just copy and paste the cells. So if there's an extra space you can't see or something, you could get it exactly correct into the find what spot. But let's try 19 to 21 looks the same, is a 7. So I'll replace all those. Looks like it got them all. And then I'm going to do 22 to 25 and replace that with 8. Okay, only 5 of those. And then 26 to 30. And replace all of those with a 9, it says, yes. Replace all, only 1. And then 31 to 35. Place all those. And then we are going to do, oh, 15 to 18 was on there. I didn't even see that. Okay, wait, let me do 41 and up. And I'll add a code for them. 41 and up. That we're going to replace with a 12. Oh, it didn't find it. Oh, because I forgot the D. Okay, 41 and up, replace with 12. Yes, okay. And then 15 to 18. Let me close this out because I don't think that was on my key. No, okay. I'm going to add it. 15 to 18, and we'll code that 98. Okay. So, edit, find, replace. I'm going to write 15 to 18, and we were going to code that 98. Okay. Very good. Okay. So now we can do ethnicity. So self-described is 13, and they did self-described, oh, capital S. And that is going to be 13. Okay, and then Black African American. I'm just going to copy and paste because I'm getting lazy. Black African American, 14. Replace, oh, 1, okay, and then white and Caucasian. Let's see, it says I spelled it wrong, which is probably true. Let's see if they spelled it wrong too. 2 replacements, yes, okay, awesome. All right, and then Hispanic or Latin American. And that one, oh, what the heck? is 16. All right, cool. Is that it? Okay, that's all my demographics. Okay, so after we have coded all of our demographics, then we need to change all of the survey item labels to match what is on our key. So it says for 3A, change all survey items to the codes exactly as they appear on your key. For example, a self-esteem item should be labeled SE1, like saying that SE stands for self-esteem. And then your labels should not include any spaces or special characters. In other words, you can't have parentheses, quotation, dashes, any type of punctuation marks. So what I'm going to do is click on this first survey item here that says, sometimes I think poorly of myself. And I am going to go up to their key. And sometimes I think poorly of myself is S1. So I am going to just come here into the box and put S1. And then I am going to find the next one. I feel confident with the way I look is SR2. So I would label that SR2. And then 3, my friends are kind, is SI3. And so I would just continue to do that for all the items, coding them with the correct codes. And then I would move on to the next variable after I got through the first one. And so the next variable for this group is social media use. And so I'm looking for the item number 1 that says I only use social media sites once per day, which is this one. So I'm going to label that SM1, social media 1. Okay, and then I don't use any social media sites per day. Let me find that. Okay, here it is. And I'm going to label that SMR2. And then I surf the web 5 or more times a day. There it is. And I surf the web is SMI3. And I use 2 to 3 is SM4. And then I don't use 2 to 3 is SMR5. Okay, and then let's see, 43. I use the internet to do my homework every day is SMI6. Okay, so let's say there's more, but I deleted them to pretend we only have this many so we don't have to watch me do this forever. Okay, so we got through those 2 variables. And then the next thing on our data entry worksheet says, if you use Likert type scales without any numeric value associated with the descriptors, you would need to code those as well. So if I saw this, I gave you feedback to change it to numbers before your official data collection began. Hopefully you got that note. But if instead of in your cells all the data already being in number form for your surveys, if you collected them in words, then you will have to code them. And so you would use the find and replace feature just like we did for the demographics and put in the associated Likert scale number. But this group collected their pilot test data numerically, so that one is already done for us. But then for 3C, it says all items that are reverse coded need to be coded correctly. So for all participants that chose a 5 on a reverse coded item, the 5 needs to be replaced with a 1 and vice versa. For all the participants that chose a 4 on reverse coded items, the 4 will need to be replaced with a 2 and vice versa. So in other words, 5s become 1s, 1s become 5s, 4s become 2, 2s become 4s, and then 3s just stay as 3s. So this group, however, has a 9-point Likert scale. So I have their key here for assistance, and 9 would become a 1, 8 would become a 2, 7 a 3, 6 a 4, and 5 is going to be neutral. So I'm going to come into their data and look for the R's. So I see one here. So like we said, 4 is going to become a 6. So I'm going to change the 4 to a 6. 5 is going to stay 5. 9 is a 1. 4 is a 6. 7 is going to become a 3. 9 is a 1. 6 is a 4. 5 is a 5. 7 is a 3. 9 is a 1. 8 is a 2. 2 is an 8. 7 is a 3. 3 is a 7, 5 is a 5, 4 is a 6, 6 is a 4, and 7 is a 3. So I would do the same thing for all the reverse coded items, just going in and flipping the number to its reversed position or reversed number. Okay, so now we are on 3D. It says you should have included items in your survey that were irrelevant and are not intended for the analysis. All data should be entered and coded into the database regardless. So in other words, just don't delete your irrelevant items yet. And if you collected the data in words, it does need to be coded into numbers. And then 4 says save the coded Excel file as a .csv file, name the file coded data set, and save it to the desktop as well as a USB drive. So I'm going to file save as to my desktop, and then also a USB drive or Google Drive or something somewhere so you have a copy of it. Okay, and then I'm going to import the coded file into SPSS. And so to do that, I'm going to open SPSS. So I am going to open SPSS and click open another file, and then click, let's see what happens when I click on that. And then I am going to find my file. I'm going to have to change this to textdata.csv file. And then there is my coded data set. I want the coded data set. That was the finalized one. And I'm just going to click OK. And here is all of my data. Okay, so number 6 says to delete any participants with missing data and to write down the number of cases you delete because you will need to report that in your paper. So any participant that has even one cell missing has to be deleted. So here I could see that this person number 1 has a bunch of missing cells, so I'm going to delete them. And I can do that just by clicking on that that person or that participant, so clicking on the row labeled 1. And then I'm just going to go to Edit and Cut, or I could use Command X. And then that goes away. So I'm just going to continue to do that. You'll notice that all of the rows are moving up. So this one has a little more data, but it still has missing data. And like I said, if even one cell has any missing data, then we're going to delete that participant. Okay, so then I'm just gonna check the rest. It looks like I thought I had seen one cell that was empty. Oh, there it is. Okay, so person 8 has to be deleted because they had a missing cell. Okay, so I would need to write down the number of cases that I missed or that had missing data, so I deleted because I'll need to report that in my paper. So make sure you write down the number of people you delete, or the number of cases with missing data. Okay, so step 7 says to create composite variables by combining survey items for each variable. And so basically what a composite variable is a mean score for all items on a particular variable for one participant. So basically we're going to get the mean for participant 1 on self-esteem, and that's going to be the composite variable for that person. And so we'll get those for each person in our study. So the way to create a composite variable is to go to transform. I'm going to click off that real quick. There we go. Okay, transform, compute variable. And then you're going to label the variable. So I'm going to label this variable SE for self-esteem. And then I am going to put in the word mean and open parenthesis with no space between in this numeric expression box. And then what I am going to do is start pulling items over into the parentheses. So I want to make sure I pull over all of the self-esteem items or items labeled S, but not the irrelevant items. So I just click on it and then click the arrow. And right after the item, I put a comma, no spaces. Then I'm going to do all the reverse coded items, comma right after, no spaces. SI3 is irrelevant, so I'm going to skip that one. And then S4 I'll pull over, comma. SR5 I'll pull over, comma. And then 6 is irrelevant, so I will leave that one out. And then I'm going to put close parentheses there and just click OK. And this page that pops up is my output. But for this particular function, I don't need my output because I just made my composite variables over here. So this is the mean score on self-esteem for participant 1. And now I'm going to make a composite variable for the items that measured social media usage. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Go to transform compute variable, and this target variable I'm going to label SM. And then I'm going to take out the self-esteem items and put in the social media usage. So I did SM1, SMR2, comma, 3 is irrelevant, 4, comma, and then SMR5. Okay, and then I'm going to click OK. Just minimize my output and scroll over, and then there are my values for my composite variable social media use. Once you have your composite variables, then we're going to move on to step 8, which is to screen for outliers. And so to do that, we're going to need to create z-scores. And so we'll create our z-scores, and then any z-score over 3.5 is going to be considered an outlier. And I would recommend that you delete the outliers, but write down the number of outliers that you delete because you'll need to report that in your paper. So to get those z-scores, you're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Descriptives, and then you're going to scroll down to your composite variables and click Save Standardized Values. Go ahead and make sure you pull them both over. Make sure that box is checked. Save standardized values as variables. That's what's telling it to turn them into z-scores. And then we're going to click OK. Our output's going to pop up. We're going to minimize that. And we're going to scroll over. And here are our z-scores for self-esteem and for social media use. So I'm just going to take a look at these. And if any of them are over 3.5 or negative 3.5, I would delete, but they are not, so I'm good to go. But if I did have to delete, I would just tally each time I deleted one, and so that I could record my total number of deleted outliers and report that in my paper. Then we are on to step 9, which is to save your data set to your desktop as a .sav file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and then it is the default setting is .sav, so I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to name this file data set, and I am going to save it to my desktop, and then it will be there for future use, and I won't lose any of this work I've created. That is it for the data entry lab. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you on the next one. Have a great day.